The PlayStation 5 has been out for nearly 4 years now, and has earned universal acclaim. A lot of this positivity can be attributed to the sterling reputation of its predecessor, the PS4, which laid the groundwork for a smooth transition into the next generation. Due to the solidity of so many of PS4's titles, many publishers have taken their best from that system and re-released them on the PS5 with upgrades to visuals and performance. However, there are still amazing games that have yet to receive this treatment, and it has left gamers begging for bespoke releases on more powerful hardware. With that, here are 9 games that still need a native PS5 version. Let's jump right in. Batman Arkham Knight originally launched in 2015, well before the PS4 Pro came to market. Because of this, it was never patched to take advantage of the mid-gen refresh, so the PS5 runs it at a default 30 FPS at 1080p. Even back when it first hit store shelves, Arkham Knight blew fans and critics away with its lighting and graphics settings. With the additional horsepower of the PS5, a 60 FPS performance mode shouldn't be out of the question. If players feel like they can forego the increased frame rate, an option to focus on resolution could also be included, perhaps making use of the new technology like ray tracing to breathe life into the rain-soaked streets of Gotham City. Next up, Doom was already a technical achievement on PS4, boasting a smooth 60 FPS on the original hardware. Of course, this came with certain visual trade-offs. Environmental detail was not as strong as it could have been, with a lot of blurry textures and rudimentary geometry if you paid attention. Additionally, the motion blur and dynamic resolution could be noticeably aggressive at times in order to maintain the game's silky smooth combat. Doom Eternal was given a PS5 version after originally launching in March 2020, and it showed off how the system could deliver excellent performance while still boasting stunning graphics. We're not advocating for a full ground-up remake of 2016's Doom, but some of the lessons learned while making Eternal could be retroactively applied to this predecessor, resulting in a more visually appealing experience. The Order 1886 might not seem like the most obvious choice in a list like this. It's largely considered a commercial flop, it caused controversy about how short its campaign was, and the original developer has been absorbed by Meta. However, the Order deserves to be preserved, with additional graphics upgrades bolstering its fascinating cinematic presentation, complete with letterboxing and heavy film grain. These decisions actually had a material effect on how the game was developed, with less screen real estate letting the developers pack in higher levels of detail. Even for an early PS4 game, it still looks amazing, with photorealistic characters and sublime lighting. Sony still owns the rights to the series, so they could release a PS5 version, boosting the resolution to 4K, among other graphical tweaks. Who knows, it might even encourage them to pursue a sequel. The Just Cause games feel designed to bring console hardware to its knees. A physics playground with a myriad of explosive objects will do that after all. The series struggled on 8th generation machines due to the chaos on screen outstripping the available power, which resulted in serious frame rate issues. Just Cause 4 was able to rectify this issue, but the third entry was pretty atrocious, with performance dropping below 20 FPS. Given the extreme variability of Just Cause's world, maybe a perfectly locked frame rate isn't the most realistic expectation, especially when players can always try to create bigger and bigger explosions to stress test their systems. That being said, the vast increase to power afforded by the PS5 should be able to boost the game's base performance, perhaps accompanied by an uncapped frame rate and enhanced graphical effects. There are few movie creatures more terrifying than the Xenomorph, and in 2014, gamers got to experience the full terror of being stalked by the deadly beast firsthand in Alien Isolation. A sequel has yet to materialize, but that hasn't stopped the game from developing a fierce fan base, proudly proclaiming it one of the best survival horror experiences ever made. A prospective PS5 release would not only boost the game's lifetime sales, but it could also heighten the horror beyond the developer's original vision. In the films, the environments were just as important to the overall scare factor as the monster. With the advent of ray tracing, the lighting could be made much more atmospheric, heightening the aura of dread experienced by players while on the sticks. Watch Dogs didn't take off the way Ubisoft would have liked it to, but the series' legacy is inextricably tied to the 8th generation of consoles. After receiving criticism for the first game's visuals at launch, the sequel was able to win a portion of the public back over with a lighter tone and wacky cast of characters. Watch Dogs 2 has gained many converts over the years, and a PS5 upgrade would ingratiate Ubisoft to its audience. Not only would it be treated to the best looking digital San Francisco ever and get the frame rate boosted, but it could also be used to gauge continued interest in the series after Legion's lukewarm reception. When Middle-earth's Shadow of Mortar launched in 2014, it wowed the gaming community with its brilliant new invention, the Nemesis system. The gameplay mechanic allows you to create dynamic storylines with the enemies you fight, letting them form grudges, remember past encounters, and even ambush you. Imagine if Warner Brothers took this modern classic and re-released it on the latest systems, reminding everyone of how good it really is and improving its presentation for years to come. It's already been patched to support ultra-high definition resolutions, but the PS5 could double the frame rate and enhance the game's somewhat iffy texture extra qualities. Maybe the most baffling entry on this list, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the best reviewed and best-selling games of all time, and it still hasn't made the jump to PS5. Rockstar products are always praised for their technical brilliance and eye-popping graphics, so naturally there's an interest in pushing their games further than what was possible on their original hardware. Red Dead 2 is already stunning, so although the list of improvements they could make in a PS5 version is small, they are significant. The most obvious request is to up the performance to 60 FPS, a target that was not available on previous consoles. Additionally, the implementation of ray tracing options could make Rockstar's breathtaking world even more picturesque. Of all the games the public want to be brought to the PS5, the cries are loudest for Bloodborne. From Software's classic has been declared by avid players to be one of the greatest games of all time, but there's been no official indication from Sony that we should expect a release for the next generation. This has been vexing for Bloodborne's fanbase, because even though the game's design is superb, it is partially let down by its lackluster performance. It sometimes struggles with frame rate issues, causing gameplay to appear choppier than you would want from an action title. The PS5 could not only stabilize the frame rate, but upgrade it to a smooth 60, creating the best experience possible. Considering all the demand for the PS5 port of Bloodborne, we can only hope that Sony listens to the audience and delivers a native version soon. Are there any other games that don't have a native PS5 version that you think should? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to check out thegamer.com for all your gaming needs.